Hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? New York Giants football. Let's go. With training camp now closed to the public, we can only get our news from either Giant staff or the beat writers. So with that being said, way fewer clips, way fewer videos on the timeline of practice. So we're not seeing a lot of the plays, but we are getting a lot of quotes. We're getting a lot of comments on the timeline and Twitter and all that stuff. So we are still getting some updates, but just not as many videos as you and I would like to see. But with that being said, let's get right into this video. Let's talk about this practice. Let's talk about some of the updates that we have today for this practice. And again, this is Texans week, the start of Texans week. And let's go ahead and get started. So with the injuries today, we did get some news. Evan Neal is back off the PUP list. So shout out to Evan Neal for making it back off the PUP list. You guys know how I feel about the situation. And I think that everybody around, everybody across the board feels the same way. I do not think that this would affect the lineup as far as the starting lineup at right tackle with Evan Neal coming back. Just back off of PUP list, is not in player shape. Also, Illuminor has been promising throughout training camp, and I believe he deserves that spot. Now, one quote at the end of practice from Evan Neal today, he was saying that whatever role the New York Giants have for him, he will embrace it, and that's a different stance from what he had before, prior to training camp, prior to the extended injury news, where he just said, I'm a tackle, this, that, and the third, and now he's willing to embrace if he's, in fact, moved to another position, and I think that's a sign of maturity. Wherever you fit in is where you fit in, and I think the coaches are playing it right with not making any changes, not just giving him his spot back when he hasn't earned his spot, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion. Also coming back today was JMS. They brought JMS back today. He was in individual drills. They held him out of team drills. Same thing for Evan Neal, only individual drills, not in team drills, but that's a good sign for JMS. Also, Lawrence Cager came back off of the hamstring, back in practicing, and that's good news for him as well. He did lose a lot of time with missing those practices in training camp and also missing one preseason game, so he has a lot to do in the next 2 weeks in order to see if he can, make this roster. Other injury news: Cordell Flott out with a quad. And he's out at least for a week. So to me, that sounds like McLeod might be in there as CB2 if Cordell Flott can't get healthy. Drew Lock, we've seen it, we know it, out with the hip, out with the oblique. Not sure exactly how long he's going to be out. They said they're definitely going to keep him out the next few days. Is it a contusion? Is it something that he can play through? We know right now that Drew Lock is also out. Deontay Johnson, the linebacker who made some good plays in that preseason game and who is also having a good training camp, is out with the ankle. Javarius Owens has a knee, and then Dennis Houston, this is old news, is out with the hand, but they did say that they saw him with the cast on the sideline today, so I'm assuming that is a substantial injury if he's already casted. Outside of that, got some moves today. The New York Giants released cornerback Caleb Hayes. They signed linebacker KJ Cloyd. So those are some of the moves. And let's just talk about Dable at the podium today. And also the positional coaches did speak to the media today. A lot of good jewels. I have a couple here, but I'm just going to start out with Brian Dable. So Brian Dable's plan. First off, the news of the day for me is that the starters are going to play against the Houston Texans. I kind of figured it. Everybody kind of knew that was going to happen, but he confirmed that DJ will be playing against the Texans, or that's the plan for him to be playing against the Texans, and hopefully they play substantial amount of time and get a lot of reps. And I'm talking about the offensive line, DJ, and these wide receivers. He did also say that Neal was in individual drills only. I said that earlier. They are not going to get a quarterback right now. They're going to stick with just Daniel Jones and Tommy DeVito while Drew Lock is out. They did say that their emergency quarterback is the tight end, Tyree Jackson. For those that don't know, Tyree Jackson was a quarterback in college at the University of Buffalo. He was drafted to play a quarterback, just never panned out, and he made the move to tight end. So he would be the emergency quarterback for this week. And he also said that he doesn't know how much the starters are going to play, but they'll know by the end of this week how much the starters are going to play. Now, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. Should the guys play a few drives, a quarter, 2 quarters? How should they approach this? Is it about how good a good showing, or is it about consistent play? For me, I need to see at least a quarter from the starters, that being offense and defense. Again, if you don't want to play Dex, that's one thing, but as far as this offensive line goes, I think they need to play at least a quarter. Now, if the New York Giants go on 2 drives, not 1 drive, the New York Giants go on 2 drives and everything is clicking, and Daniel Jones performs well, he goes like 4 for 4, or 5 for 6, 7 for 8, something like that, and gets a touchdown out of the deal, maybe you pull him out a little bit early. But other than that, these guys need to gel. These guys need to play together before we start off this season, and I think at least a quarter should be good enough for these guys. That's bare minimum for me. And then I would like to see going into the second quarter. But again, we'll see what happens with that. So also they spoke to Brasillo today, Carmen Brasillo, offensive line coach, and he said that he was pleased but not satisfied with the performance against the Lions. Now, as a Giants fan, watching that Lions preseason game, I loved every bit of it as far as the offensive line goes. I saw competent offensive line play from second, third, and fourth team guys. I can't wait to see the starters against the Texans this week. If the starters look even better than what the second, third, and fourth string did, I think we're in business. I absolutely believe that we're in business, and I can't wait for this week, or I can't wait to get to this Texans game this week. Brasillo also said he expects JMS to be ready week 1 versus the Vikings. We'll see what happens with that. Still don't know the extent of the shoulder injury, and also he's still in individual drills, not even in team drills yet. So we'll see what happens with that. And then he said also he will continue to rotate Joshua Ezeudu between tackle and guard. Now, we already know, like I said, when it comes to Joshua Ezeudu, to me, and to be fair, never got a fair shake, has been moved around since he got here, was never given a chance to get comfortable at any position on the offensive line. Just the cards he was dealt, not the best hand, but a situation that he's in right now, and he has to make the best of that situation. But I understand why they are doing it. But again, it's Joshua Ezeudu. He's probably going to be, when you really look at it, he's probably going to be he might be the swing tackle. Might be the swing tackle. Depends on what happens with Evan Neal. But it's just hard to get a good evaluation of Joshua Ezeudu, because again, it's not fair to him to be moved around as much and not being comfortable, not allowing yourself to get good at just one position before you moved around everywhere. So I'll take that with Joshua Ezeudu. But that's all the slack I'm gonna give him. It is what it is when it comes to that. And then also I'll talk about Jerome Henderson. Jerome Henderson, the DB coach, likes what he saw with Phillips as his aggressiveness. Again, we all see it. He likes what he's doing at the slot position. He also said that Belton, when it came to Dane Belton has played well in camp. He made some plays against the Lions, but still it's going to be a battle between him and Tyler Nubin. They like the aggressiveness and the energy that Tyler Nubin brings, and we saw it in the game. We saw it how he came from that safety spot and just blew up the offensive guard to help on a run play, and it's exciting. The emotion, to see it on the field, and they're trying to say, well, they are saying that it's addictive. His energy is addictive, and that's what the New York Giants need at every position on the defense. We need that fire. Not saying that Dane Belton isn't fiery, just saying that Tyler Nubin is a different breed, and something to look forward to. All right, so let's get into these practice notes. Okay, so Greg Van Roten finally got some snaps at right guard. Round of applause for that. Finally got some reps at right guard. Him and Schlottman were rotating at center with the ones, and then also Aaron Stinney at right guard rotating with GVR. So we're starting to see that move that everybody was talking about, GVR eventually getting to the right guard spot. And I think a lot of that had to do with Schlottman having a good showing in the preseason game. Now, maybe in camp, he wasn't showing as well, and that's why they had GVR, rotating at center. But we saw in the game, Schlottman held up pretty well, and you're seeing him rotating with the ones, which this should happen. But I think ultimately the main plan was to get GVR at right guard, and Schlottman just happens to be paid as the center too, and it's just something that's a natural progression, and we'll see what happens, with that. What else do we have here? Again, the Luminors at right tackle, no surprise there. Some of the touchdowns from today, we got DJ had a touchdown to Nabers, also a touchdown to Hyatt. Jason Pinnock got an interception off Daniel Jones, also in practice. And the biggest news of practice today is Malik Nabers' injury. Now, they don't know if his foot got stepped on. They don't know if it's an ankle sprain. He did end up walking off the field, had his shoe off. Trainers were looking at him, but they never took him inside. So, I'm taking that as a good sign. They didn't have to take him all the way in. The remainder of practice, he did sit on the side on the training box to watch the rest of practice. So he was still out there with his team. But we'll probably get some more news about what it is exactly. Could it be the ankle? Could have been his foot got stepped on? We'll see what happens with that. Of course, social media goes crazy whenever you hear news of an injury, especially with an impact player like Malik Nabers. But we're all going to hope for the best and hope that he's ready to go, depending on the injury. And this is the part that sucks. We have the Texans coming up this week. We saw him against the Lions not get any kind of targets. If there's an ankle injury, a foot injury, he might not play against the Texans because you want him healthy for when the season starts. So that just sucks because you don't get to see Daniel Jones and Malik Nabers together until week 1 possibly, and that just sucks all the way around. But that's going to be the notes today. That's going to be the notes that I have on today's practice updates. Again, Malik Nabers with the injury, but a lot of guys we got back. Hopefully nothing serious for Malik Nabers. But I just want to say this about the CB2 spot before I get out of here. Nick McLeod, and I've been pushing for Nick McLeod for CB2. With the new injury to Cordell Flott, this just gives more opportunity to Nick McLeod. Nick McLeod was at the podium at the end of practice talking about he's okay with always feeling like he has something to prove, and I do feel what he's saying when he says that, because nobody is really looking at Nick McLeod too much. As far as there's some fans that like Nick McLeod. I'm a fan of Nick McLeod. There's some other guys that like the way that he plays. But he knows that he has to take advantage of every opportunity that he's getting. And guess what? He's getting more opportunity now with Cordell Flott being out. But even with a healthy Cordell Flott, I still like Nick McLeod over Flott. But Flott was the draft pick, for the Giants and for Joe Shane, so he's going to get all those extra opportunities. But I don't see anything bad or anything wrong with this situation. I already like Nick McLeod at CB2. I don't think it's a big drop off. I actually think he might be even a better boundary corner than Cordell Flott right now as we speak. But again, I'm happy to see a guy get a chance. Because again, I like the player, and I think a lot of people like the player. But that's going to be the video. I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.